What's up, everybody? This is Jimmy with Trade and Decoded. It is January 8th, 2025, and the market's still open. But, well, I am done trading for the day. I get off the mic at 12 o'clock, and I make my videos a little earlier now. What I do want to bring up today, though, is that this video is going to be a little bit different. I do share my first trade of the day with you, but what's important about today's trade is that, and I'm sorry you could hear the airplane outside. It's my windows are open. What I need you to realize is that today I didn't feel good about the pre-market chart. And as you'll hear in this morning's explanation of what I'm going to be prepared for, you're kind of hearing me going back and forth before the open between wanting to play calls and wanting to play puts. Now, the reason the switch originally happened was because leading into the open, we were putting in lower highs, and then we took out one of those lower highs and started to move up to the next lower high up, which would have been right here on SPY. As we started to pull back leading into the open, I made the decision to be prepared for puts again. I did not play the opening candle. I did not play the second, third, fourth, or fifth candle. I got it into my trade at 9:35, and I ultimately got out of my trade at 9:39. Now, it ended up being a 24.8% win. I did leave some money on the table, but the point of the video is I took that trade when I really probably shouldn't have. And the reason the video is called Red Flags, Don't Ignore Them, is because I did exactly that. And I got rewarded for it, but that's not the kind of rewards you want to be getting, right? You don't want to get used to being rewarded for doing things we probably were better off not doing. I am not impervious to mistakes. I make them all the time. But when I make a mistake, I do try to learn from it. But more importantly, I try and make it a teaching lesson for other people as well, right? I'm cognizant of the mistakes that I make. But today, I didn't feel good about the pre-market chart. I didn't feel good about what was going on at the time that I bought my puts. And quite frankly, because of that, the entire trade felt forced and I was uncomfortable in the whole thing. With that said, I did take the entry based on technical reasoning. So I was trying to ignore my feelings and trust the chart, but as you and I both know, it is impossible to trade without feelings involved. It's impossible. I don't care who you are. I don't care how long you've been doing it. It's exciting to make money and it hurts to lose money. So when I show you this trade or when you're listening to it, I want you to go into it with the understanding that I did not feel good about what I was seeing. I forced the trade, and because I forced the trade, I felt uncomfortable during the entire trade. And when I ended up exiting with profit, I felt lucky, not like I had made good decisions and earned that money. As a result of that feeling, I was very, very uncomfortable wanting to trade the rest of what we saw. Overwhelmingly in the room, most people felt uncomfortable with what they were seeing today, right? So today was more of a, if you don't like what you see, don't trade it. Now, I'm going to go to the chart and I'm going to explain some of these trades to you that we were, or the levels that we're looking at here so that you can understand what I'm referring to. So we had call lines on SPY up here at 589.30 and respectively at 515.89 on the Qs. We had a put line of 587.34 on SPY and 513.73. They come from pre-market levels that looked like support. Both of which held the first times that we got down to them. But ultimately, SPY ended up breaking that support level with a candle close here. Unfortunately, Qs was not below their SPY, that line at that point then. And it wasn't until they were both with room to go getting below that line until 10-12 on Qs, but SPY hadn't closed below, and when it did, it was already down at the next support. So the put scenario, if you played aggressively, i.e. you waited for both charts to breach the put line, would have unfortunately cost you some money, okay? That would be something that I would have considered a risky trade, as are all trades that you take on a breach of a line versus a close. Something I probably would have taken myself had I not done what I'd done prior to that. and I would have lost as well. Because ADD was printing red. Everything looked good, like there was momentum gaining to the downside. It just didn't work. Now, if that is the case and you did take that trade, you can't really be upset about at yourself about it. Our call put scenario works well above 90% of the time. So it's comfortable to play it usually. But again, the point of this video was, for me, was that I didn't like what I was seeing in pre-market, as I state right here in the SPY analysis that I type up for our members every morning. And therefore, I shouldn't have been doing what I was doing, and I shouldn't have taken the trade that I took. But let me explain the trade that I took, and you guys can listen to it in real time afterwards. I was liking it to the downside more than the upside. I saw that SPY was making lower highs. It was struggling to get above resistance here. Qs, on the other hand, seemed to be disassociated or detached from SPY for the first portion of this morning. And that's generally an uncomfortable situation to begin with. What I saw and what I liked, as you will hear me take the actual trade, I said, listen, guys, I think I'm going to go ahead and take the risk here now. Qs are at resistance. The beauty of buying puts at a line of resistance, regardless of which chart you're trading, is that if you get above that resistance, that also should act as your stop loss. So for me, we had the resistance of this double top here, plus a very strong resistance just above that we put in pre-market that was going to be my stop loss. Okay, so when I entered this trade, I used that resistance as both my reason for entry and my stop loss should we not move down from here. SPY, as you could see, was also at a line of resistance, okay? At the same time, ADD was also printing red at the same time. I decided to take the risk based on the technicals of that. We're at resistance on two charts, and ADD is telling me we're trying to move down on the small caps. I took the risk. Now, getting into that trade, I already felt uncomfortable because I didn't like the chart to begin with. Then we got this green candle. At first started out like it was going to feel good, and then we close up here, and I'm like, oh man, guys, I don't really like the way this feels. This might end up costing me. Fortunately, it stayed, and we ultimately moved down to where the minimum I was aiming for was where support was here on SPY. Once we got to that line, I put in a really tight stop. I was hoping for this line down here. We got a little bit closer to the line. It pulled back, stopped me out, and then it made its move down. So I didn't get to capture that entire move. But that was the only trade that I took for the day. And the reason is because not only did I feel like I broke my original trade plan rules by not waiting for us to cross the put line on either chart, which leads me to believe that I forced the trade, although it won, it still wasn't the right thing to do. And then we kind of the chart was not very nice today. So the only other trade that we saw or waited for, some people tried to trade this. It wasn't a great day in the community, by the way. Today's chart was nothing like the first 4 days of this year. This was much more difficult to trade, and I'm sure you felt that way as well. That said, the very first and only time both of those charts closed above our call line would have gotten you in at 1137. At 1137 on both SPY, ADD, and Qs, we closed above resistance. We knew where we wanted to go, which was the next line up at 516.62 on the Qs chart or the SPY, whichever came first. We get up to it. That ended up being about a 60 to 65 cent move. Those moves pay nicely. Now, the way these charts are set up right now, that space doesn't look like it's very large, but it is. Also, today was really expensive contracts wise, and they were gaining value very quickly. So as you'll hear, I call out that I'm up $100 per contract at 937, and then it just gained extra value on the way down. With that said, the last thing I left with our members right before I left, I said, guys, I would consider this a counter trend trade, but we're coming off of lower highs on Qs and SPY. If we can get a candle close below this 515.90 line on the Qs, I would be looking for it to move down to 515.19. So again, it's a pretty good drop, 60 cents or so, 70 cents. And then it provided a whole lot more than that. But As you could see, the entry point would have been here. SPY was pushing right up against and potentially closing below support. I think it kind of is closing below support. We're looking for it to continue down to the next support. At the time, ADD was also printing red and looking like it was trying to roll over. Ultimately, that sparked one hell of a move to the downside. And as we get down to the pink lines and through, if you hang on and you just trail your win, you could have taken advantage of that great entry that turned into an amazing trade that I would have never guessed would have been that big. And I certainly wouldn't have held all the way down there for that. And the one other trade that I was not there to say, but I just want to show you guys how often this works out. As long as we're putting in lower highs, you should be looking for reasons to take puts. Now, when that pattern breaks and we're no longer following those lower highs with lower lows and we put in a higher low, that doesn't mean necessarily to jump into calls, but it should always mean puts are coming off the table, okay? Because that means that the buyers that stopped it from moving down here are now trying to actively move the price up. So they're not allowing the sellers to bring it back down to where it once was. Instead, they're trying to move it up. Sorry, I didn't think I was recording for a second. I was going to be annoyed. And we were coming off support lines either way. But nonetheless, puts come off the table. So if you were holding puts all the way up here, the minute you see this higher low, you get yourself out of the trade. Okay? If you're looking for a reason to get into calls, not only do you want to put in a higher low, wait for a break of resistance, which would be your most recent lower high to the left. If we get above that, you're aiming for it to go up to the next lower high, so on and so forth. And that would have produced an equally beautiful trade to the upside, while ADD, by the way, was also pushing up at the same time. So with that said, that's what I got here. I'm going to roll the footage from this morning's trade, and I hope you guys find some value in this. Okay, so I'll pick it up after you guys watch that, and then I'll catch you at the end of that. So enjoy. Alrighty, it is that time again. Larry, you don't tell me what to do, Larry. You're not the boss of me. Okay, I'm well aware of the time. It's 9:25. I like to make you sweat a little bit. Okay, so. Call put scenario. We have a pretty strong resistance level up there on the SPY at 589.30. So I'm going to put my call line there. Like, we want to be above that, unless, of course, we're trying to buy a pullback to support. However, I'm not going to be buying a pullback to support if we're doing so off of lower highs. Okay, so we'll have to see what happens as we get a little bit closer to the open. To the downside, you're going to hate this, but I have to do this. Because we have little support levels along the way between our pre-market mid and our pre-market low line, I would have to be slightly concerned that any one of these could potentially stop SPY from continuing down. The more important thing is, as usual, I also want to see the Qs above this line here. Okay, oh, is that white? I need this to be white. I want it to be above their pre-market high, because their next real line of resistance up is all the way up at the orange line. To the low side, I got the same problem with the Qs, but I'm going to have to say I think I'd rather wait for the Qs to get down to this support here, because if they get to that, my hope would be that they'd make the 50-cent drop down to the pink line. And 50 cents pays me well. So for me, that would be what I would be looking for. Now, obviously, it's going to matter about what ADD is doing and what SPY does at the open, right? If we take out lower highs to our left and we work our way back up to here, then I'm looking to the Qs to find out what they're doing. Are they through this resistance yet? Are they taking out their lower highs? Has Qs reversed course? Because right now on SPY and Qs, both charts have currently taken out their most recent lower high. So that's not typically a good thing for puts. But you have two more resistances above as well before we should jump into calls. Where's the SPY put line? It's really going to come. It's all the way down here. 587.34. I just didn't make it white. Sorry. We'll make this one white. My bad. But it's really more dependent on the Qs. I want the Qs just like yesterday, guys. I'm going to be watching the cues. Yesterday, if you jumped into calls on SPY right out of the gate, you had your opportunity to make money on a couple of those candles that, made it right to the next line. My problem is that the cues never closed above the call line, so I was very hesitant. And then when I started to see the other signs, SPY rejecting, cues rejecting, and ADD, was still printing very, very green, I felt more comfortable at that moment to playing puts than I did calls. And I'm glad that ended up being the case, because that ended up being a winning trade that we got to take advantage of. So at this point, because of the lower highs, I think we have an equally strong resistance up here right now on both of these charts that I would prefer are no longer resistance. Now, what might happen is we might open and run right into those lines respectively. Now, if that happens quickly, you can't possibly be ready to get in unless it takes a couple of seconds to get there. But at this point, because of what we're doing in pre-market, I have no direction that I want to be in. I'm going to start with the idea of using puts, being prepared for puts, because, most of the time, before just recently, most of the top 10 was red. But maybe I should be switching over to calls then. I'm going to be prepared for calls now. We just broke through on both charts, or breached. We haven't closed above the second most recent lower high. So we'll have to see here. I'm going to be a little bit less aggressive today. I think. Well, let's see. You guys got the lines on the chart. Okay. To the upside, we have call lines on both charts. I'd prefer to be above both those lines if I'm going to jump into calls. And if we're playing puts, you got lines to the downside on both charts that you just got to be prepared for it. I'll have puts ready to go. If it doesn't end up being a put trade, then I don't get into anything until we get another setup. So that's what we'll do. All right. So Q's trying to print red. SPY trying to print red. They're both trying to get through their pre-market midlines. ADD is printing green, but opened at minus 1,360. That's a lot of stocks are below their closing price yesterday. It's a slow grind for now. And let's see what happens here. Q's trying to move down. NVIDIA's taking a nice dump right now. Not in anything yet. Now, you guys know I do lean towards aggressive trading usually, so I might not necessarily wait for the cross of the put line, but I'm not in yet. I might be willing, if the Qs can get below their pre-market low line, to start my entry and hope that it gets down to the pink line from there. Holy shit, things are expensive. Good Lord, have mercy on my soul. My goodness. All right, ADD starting to print red. ADD starting to print red. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. You know you want to. Come on, culitas. Oh, man, the buyers are there. They were there from pre-market. Look at this. Look at this here. That's what's holding it up right now. Oh, nasty, nasty. Look, and SPY was touching a higher low as well on that there. At resistance again. ADD is dropping. Q's at resistance. SPY at resistance. If you're going to jump into puts early, what you'd hope for is we get right back down to that pre-market low line down here and consider taking profits if we get there again. I know I keep focusing on the Q's, but that's because that's what I like to follow. ADD is still trying to print red. Q's trying to push down. Anybody get in there on the resistance? Both charts at resistance at the same time. ADD was printing red, and we made it right back down to the same support that we were hoping to get to. Now, the real hope is that we get through that support and head down to our put line. And if we can get through that line, we should head down to the pink line. But again, that was a quick potential trade right there. It was proven resistance right before open. It was resistance of this green candle. It was resistance again here. SPY was at a line of resistance. ADD was printing red, and it made it right back down to the support that had just bounced off of. So again, it's a quick 1 minute trade. If you're ready for it, you could have taken full advantage of that. Now, Qs are still struggling to go up. So I still like this to the downside more so than the upside. It may flip the script on us. I don't know. SPY is still trying to work its way down to the put line. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens here. We'll have to see what happens here. Nvidia's printing nice big red candles at the moment. Futures just kind of lingering between levels at the moment. And come on, Qs. Help the cause. Help the cause. Back on that line of support again. Now ADD is starting to hint at printing red, so hopefully that helps come lower. But there's a reason we put these lines where we put them, guys, right? There's a reason we put them where we put them. It's because we know that buyers are sitting at these levels. We want to make sure that those buyers are no longer a problem for us if we decide to go short or play puts. All right, Waterman, good job. Back up at that same resistance on the Qs. Things are a little bit different this time. But both SPY is at that resistance. ADD's printing red, which is keeping it from going above the blue line at the moment. But Qs are now starting to push up a little higher. They are now almost to their most recent lower high on the left. I'm still not in anything yet. If Qs get a close above this call line, I've got to take puts off the table. Again, we're at a resistance level here. ADD is trying to print red. SPY is at resistance. You know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and take the risk now. And if SPY gets back down to the put line, I'm going to take advantage of that profit. If Qs close above this pre-market high line, it's going to be a problematic situation. So ADD is trying to print red. SPY is at resistance. Qs were at resistance. I'm kind of hoping this comes back down to the support it just came from. I will put my stop in profit as soon as I can, just because it feels like I'm not trading my plan, which was originally waiting before, for us to get across below a certain line. I don't really want to take an L, but I like the potential for a resistance hold here. There's buyers in the game, though. There's buyers in the game. ADD is trying to print red, or green rather, even though the Qs are seemingly trying to come back down from here. If we get above 588.91 on SPY, that would have to be the worst case scenario to stop out of this. Come on, ADD, help us out here. Help us out here. ADD's printing some green candles. Q's struggling to move lower. This might not work out. This might not work out. Let's see. Let's see. All right. All right. Believe it or not, I'm actually $100 a contract in profit right now. So I'm going to put a stop loss in. I'm hoping we get down here That was a very uncomfortable situation for a minute there. But I don't want to lose. Now the Qs are getting down to their support area. I completely missed that for a second here. I'm going to start trailing this. I know it seems small, guys, but I broke my rules about when I should get into those puts. Admittedly, I got a little bit impatient waiting for this, and you know, now I'm just hoping that it works out, that we get back down to the support. I'd like ADD to help us out, yeah, so that'll be that. So let's go. Man, I'm trailing it even more now. SPY is on a level of support here. I'd really like to see them get a little lower. I'm going to play this one a little bit tighter on my stops simply because Qs are on support. ADD is still trying to print red, and I'm up a fair amount of money, which is nice. So tightening it up significantly at this point, because if it doesn't break and get down to the put line, I'm going to take myself out of the trade with a decent profit. Okay. Qs still haven't closed below that pre-market low line. Oh shit, I didn't mean to draw that. And I just got stopped out. Again, I'm looking at this support here, trying not to ignore it. I'm looking at Qs on support. It was an uncomfortable trade. This candle right here had me thinking, man, you just made a mistake and you're going to take an L. Instead, I took it from resistance back down to support. Now, that doesn't look like a decent trade, I'm sure. And now Steven, of course, is going to make me pay for this, right? You watch. We're going to pass the put line and we're going to head down to the pink line. He always makes me pay. He always makes me pay. Now Qs are touching the put line now. SPY is touching the put line now. Very curious to see if the original put scenario would have played out, taking us in at this candle and hopefully down to the pink line on the respective charts on both. Yeah, so, oh, look at that. It's holding. It's trying to hold. It's trying to hold. Is it going to? I don't know. I don't know. Anybody take my trade with me? Or is anybody still blue? Anybody still holding on to puts? Art, did you get in and out near the same time? I'm sure a lot of you guys, I'm hoping a lot of you guys got in when the Qs pulled back the first time. That would have been a great opportunity there. It'd be awesome to see us continue down to the pink line on both charts, but it's look at, we haven't gotten a single close below those put lines. Look at that. You're holding the pink, Victory. I like it. I wish the chart was a little bit more rangy, meaning a wider space that it's trying to trade in. And to try and get you down to the pink line, I'm going to go ahead and put alerts on the line so Steve knows where he's supposed to go. Okay? I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to help you out here. Good job, co-trader. Good job, said again. That felt uncomfortable, guys. I hope you realize why I was not as comfortable in this trade as I have been in the last four, mainly because my original plan was to wait at least until Qs got below the blue line. That was when I was really starting to feel like I was going to be okay with it. Qs never did that until after I'd already gotten into my trade. I did like the fact that we were at a resistance level on Qs, right? These two lines up here, this resistance here, this resistance here. ADD was printing a red candle at the time. SPY was at resistance. That's why I took the trade. Okay. All I wanted it to do was go from here back down to the support. Fortunately, we got to it. We got through it and we made it down to the next support. That's when I started to tighten up my win significantly. And it did stop me out on this. And thus, I did leave about $150 extra on the table just from this wick by doing so. So am I upset? No, because it was a good percentage return. And quite honestly, it wasn't the most comfortable trade for me. So yeah, emotions played a little bit of a role in that trade. So good job to those of you who took it and held on. We got to make some money. All right, folks. Well, there you have it. Today was an uncomfortable day for many. Later in the day, we got some much cleaner moves to the upside and the downside that you could have taken advantage of. As you know, or maybe you don't know, I am no longer on the mic past 12 o'clock. As a result, I've made our community cheaper to be in because I'm spending less time there. I am recording, as you guys have been watching for the last 4 days, my mornings so that you can hear what's going on and you can see my mistakes when I make them and you can watch my wins when I win them. And I'm just hoping that you're finding value in this particular format. It is a lot more work for me to do, but it is what it is, right? I'm trying to show you guys that it is definitely possible to start reading the chart, listening to it when it's talking to you, because every candle is telling you something. And how you interpret that information is what's going to determine, or should be determining, how your potential trade plan is going to get set up. And by me sharing what I'm doing here daily with you guys, that's what I'm hoping to prove to you. As I have said many, many times in the past, I am not here to sell you on numbers. I'm not here to make you say, hey, Jimmy, I'm just going to copy your trades and I'll be profitable like you. I don't want you to be copying my trades. I want to share with you why I'm considering taking the trades I take and teaching you to understand why I am choosing to take the trades that I take or want to take. Okay? If you're not retaining the reasons as to why I'm doing what I'm doing, then this is not the place for you. I want you here to learn, not copy. Okay? There's a reason I don't share my numbers. I used to, and I attracted all the wrong people. And my Discord community turned into a shit show, just like many other trading Discords. Because you got toxic people in there. You've got people in there who want nothing about learning how to get better and only to copy somebody else. And then when the copying doesn't work, because most of the time it doesn't, and the reason it doesn't is because you might get into a trade because I am, and you might get out of a trade because I am. The problem is you don't get in at the same time because of hesitation, or you don't like what I'm doing, so you don't take it. And you don't get out where I get out because you're not green enough. So in essence, you're making my trade into yours anyway, and then blaming me when it doesn't work. I'm done with that shit. I've been done with that for a year and a half. So if you guys, and this is coming from somebody who asked me a question, I'm not upset, and I'm not trying to defend myself. I'm just trying to say that I don't want you in my community if your only reason for being there is chasing numbers. If you want to learn how to increase your odds of taking more winning trades and how to increase your odds of skipping trades that are likely to cost you money, then you're the person I'm trying to make these videos for. You're the one. If you notice my thumbnails, they're not catchy. They're not clickbaity. Right? I'm not showing pictures of Lamborghinis and mansions in my videos. Because that's not who I want attracting to my channel or my room. All right? So if you're getting any value, useful information out of these videos, please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to join our Discord community, it is free for you for the first week. It costs you nothing. Just show up, take advantage of the time. If you don't like what we do, and I'm trying to share what we do in these videos with you guys now, if you don't like that or if that's not appealing to you, then don't bother. But I do want you to know that my intentions are to help you learn how to do this on your own, not copy somebody else. If I wanted to create a community full of copycats, trust me, I could make a lot more money on Patreon and Discord and whatever else is existing out there. But that's not what I want. Okay? So, please come to our community with the right mindset that it is going to be extremely difficult to learn how to become a profitable trader. I've never shied away from telling people that. This is the hardest thing you will ever attempt to learn how to do. Ever, in my opinion. Especially when it comes to making money. And I'm trying to mitigate or minimize the size of the learning curve that comes with trading for every trader. You don't start out profitable. And you don't get to start out making gobs of money either. You're going to start out losing money. I'm trying to teach you how to lose less by playing smaller positions while you're learning. And then when you grow the confidence and you know what you're doing, then you scale up and then you start making money. But too many people do it the wrong way because of whatever reason, right? Oh, I got credit card bills to pay. I want to quit my day job. I need a Lambo. I need this, whatever the case is. And if that's what you're chasing, then expect to get dick slapped often. Okay? Learn how to make the money first, then you can chase the money. When you've learned how to consistently make it at any level. All right? So thank you guys for watching. The markets are closed tomorrow, just a reminder. And I'll see you guys again on Friday. Thanks for watching. Love you.